we were so kept from everything. That was one of the few things that we could watch. It's like, I couldn't for a while because some of the things that he does is like, you were doing. But then I was like, you know what? Heathcliff Huxtable, as far as I know, wasn't doing that shit.
But
Bill
then
Cosby.
After watching that documentary on Showtime with W. Bell,
I haven't since. Like, that's what did it, kind of.
Yeah, because he says, okay, you watch the show, and then you're like, oh, he said this, and it's kind of hard to separate the artist from the art. Because I know personally, my life definitely influences my art. Definitely.
But then there are times when I'm just not even thinking about it because, like I said, maybe had our parents let us consume more popular culture, it would be just one of the many. That was one of the only things. Mm-hmm. And there was so much that defined what I decided that I wanted in life that came from watching the Cosby Show. Like, so I wanted to be Claire. I had a friend tell me, you're going to be like that when you grow up. You kind of like look like her. Well, I took that to heart. Like, I accept that one. Like, just my feminism as a young person was Claire Huxtable feminism. Like, yes, I bought him a cup of coffee, but he also bought me a cup of coffee. Like, that was like, I was like, I like this kind of, she's a lawyer. It's like I saw things happening on there that I'm like, that's what I want. I want a house like that. I think that's a little bit about why from a young kid, I wanted to live in New York, but I think I've always just liked cities. Like I didn't, that's from the beginning. And when I went to New York for the first time, Classic Man still sends me where I'm like, Classic Man comes on and I'm like, I gotta go to New York. Like immediately.
It's you.
I loved it. It's just there's a lot of other stuff tied up with that too, but my dad was such a Bill Cosby fan, and just all the inside jokes, like we can just say one line and it comes from this. And we did the real world thing that they did. Like when they set that whole thing up, we reenacted stuff. So it's kind of hard. So if it sneaks up on me and it's just on, all I have to hear is one word. I know what episode, I know what season, like that parents did not let us watch almost anything, but that we could watch. But there are times when he'll say something where I'm like, he's a gynecologist, and then to know that one of the most egregious things was with a guest star on there that was very memorable. And to know that she was dealing with all that stuff, and she was one of my favorite episodes, Mrs. Minifield. Certain episodes I can't watch now. And the torment, like what he did to her, and she's on there, and she was so funny. That woman should have been a star.
Yeah.
And she's like angry, and like you see it like on her face. Like she's very like, and I'm Angela Davis now.
Yeah, and see, we talked about this before, like the impact of television on society, on politics, on everything. It is so strong and it's so heavy, which makes me wonder, like, what impact are movies like The Little Mermaid going to have on our kids?
Welcome to Tangentially Speaking, the podcast where we have in-depth and entertaining conversations with a lot of tangents that always, eventually, connect two seemingly unrelated topics.
I am Nikki.
And I'm Nita Sharice. Today we're discussing The Little Mermaid, Disney's live-action remake of the 1989 animated musical. This new racially inclusive update stars Halle Bailey as Ariel, Javier Bardem as King Triton, Melissa McCarthy as Ursula, Jonah Hauer-King as Prince Eric, Daveed Diggs as Sebastian, and Awkwafina as Scuttle. As with the original, Ariel, a mermaid, longs to have a human experience despite her father's misgivings about mankind, and makes a deal with Ursula to pursue romance with Prince Eric. Directed by American film and theater producer and playwright Rob Marshall, The Little Mermaid is currently available in theaters.
Okay. So, I was not interested in seeing this movie until my kids were like, hey, Mom, we got to go see this because she's beautiful. And I'm like, all right.
we had been excited since they dropped the trailer like a year ago. And we knew like we're going to be going to this. We need to start buying the little swag now. Or like as soon as it becomes available, because we just knew. Now, I never even really saw the original Little Mermaid because I think I was like 13. But I just didn't care. Like, I remember it coming out. I know all the songs. I've seen sections of it, but I have never. Well, I had previously had never sat down and watched it. Before we went to go see it, Zoe put it on because she saw it out somewhere. It just wasn't one that it's like, oh, as soon as Zoe gets older, I want to share this with her. I felt more like that about Beauty and the Beast and Lion King than that. And it's crazy because I was older when Lion King came out than Little Mermaid. I just didn't care. And so some of the people who have beef with certain things, I didn't care because I didn't really have like an attachment to the original. And they're all people that are like younger than me, that are like 7 and 8 to 10 years younger. So they were like children, like real children when it came out, and probably continued to watch it like as you do with Disney movies. I don't know any kid who sees a Disney movie one time that they like. Usually just keep watching it.
Yeah.
And so but I was excited because just being a former early childhood educator of the Little Mermaid, as far as merch and stuff, is probably one of the most popular and enduring. You can still find Little Mermaid stuff just as if the movie has just been released. Unlike Princess and the Frog, which came way after, and it's always difficult. That is starting to change because they're about to do a live action remake of that too. Because different people have been auditioning, including Coco Jones from Bel Air. Coco Jones, Ari Lennox, and somebody else dropped these random videos basically auditioning for Disney, singing the main Tiana song.
I can slow you down, people taking the easy way. But I know exactly where I'm going. I'm getting closer, closer every day. I was almost there. Almost there. People tell you think I'm crazy, but I don't care. Trials and tribulations, I've had my share.
I think Anika Noni Rose could still pull it off. She's gorgeous and she doesn't age, and she's the original one.
But I'm fine now, and I'm forever and almost there. I'm almost there. I'm almost there.
But so I was excited about this. Halle Bailey has literal voice of an angel. Her voice is beautiful. She's so cute. I thought she did a great job. Our daughters loved it. Like they were entranced, and so were the boys. Because it's also, there's like a little bit of action. I thought Melissa McCarthy was fine. There's a lot of people that were mad at her. I thought she did great.
What?
It's the people that have a like, not really mad. I shouldn't say mad, but they've really loved the original. And I don't know who the original voice actress was, but I did listen to her performance of the song For Unfortunate Souls. It is really, really good. And so, I think people just wanted it to just be the same thing. Like somebody's going to always be mad. But for somebody who is not known for singing, I thought she did just fine. Like her voice didn't need to be melodious. It just needed to be big.
Yeah.
And she was so funny too. I like her. Like I like her as a performer. So yeah.
They couldn't have gotten the original one, Pat Carroll, to play because she died in 2022. So get over your fucking self. Anybody who was mad about this movie, I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Like, just yeah. I saw Little Mermaid on repeat because I was 11 when it came out, and I spent that summer in San Diego at my aunt's house, and she was running a daycare out of her house, and she had every fucking Disney film ever. So they were constantly on, and I learned all the like,
I knew nothing about that. Oh, I do now. Zoe
Lance goes in there in the morning and wakes her up going, oh.
That's child abuse.
Hashtag girl dad. No, she loves it. He goes, huh? And then she wakes up like she's being summoned. Like they're ridiculous together. She's, oh.
So out of control. Yeah. Yeah. So OC and I went to see this because Gabriel can't. Yeah. He's just like, the movies are too dark, it's too loud, and it's too dangerous in there. You and OC can go see it. I'll hang out with Dad. So yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, where was he? Because I'll be forgetting about that name. But anyway. I was like, so Gabe was at his house by himself. It didn't even occur to me.
Yeah, their father is still alive.
You left your dog at home.
For all of our viewers, did not leave my child at home to take the other child to the movies. He was with his dad. They had a daddy son time. So
when somebody is dead to me, they're dead to me.
I get that. And you know what? I'm cool with that. That's why we're dogs.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So OC was just like, we're gonna see this, and then it was a dummy whammy because then we went back to the movies on Friday to see Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Can't wait to see that. And I haven't seen it yet.
Oh my God, so good. I love it. Very long. That was my complaint about
Little Mermaid. It was too long.
2 hours. Like these 2 hours
and 15 minutes.
That none of these stories need to be told for that long. Like it's just but I guess that justifies the exorbitant price of the movie tickets now. Because I remember when movies used to cost $5 just because to go.
That's why you gotta go to matinees now.
You got to go to matinees, or if you belong to a certain movie theater's club, then you do the $5 Tuesdays. If you become a sponsor, you know who you are. I'll say your name, but until then, Anyway,
attitude for no reason. Why y'all not sponsoring us? Because y'all don't know about us.
Yeah, why you not sponsoring us? But yeah, it's been all of the talk around the movie and the fact that Ariel is Black, because Black mermaids, it's a thing. There'll be a link in the show notes to the legend of Mami Wata.
Mami Wata is an entity that lives in the sea. She is said to be very beautiful and also very dangerous. The legend goes that the Mami Wata has the ability to grow human legs and come out of water. When she comes out, she makes a man fall in love with her, and she takes this man back to the water where he's never to be seen again. In some parts of Nigeria, sacrifices are made and the Mami Wata is worshipped as a goddess.
If you've never heard of Mami Wata before, she's a powerful legendary figure celebrated in many places all over Africa.
Her folklore has been passed down through generations. In some stories, Mami Wata is viewed as a beautiful woman with a fish tail.
And in others, she's more of a snake-like creature that lives in the deep sea.
No matter what form Mami Wata takes, what's consistent is she's a powerful being who can shapeshift and use her gifts to help people in need.
Mami Wata has become a powerful symbol for Africans all around the world, representing hope and prosperity in the face of adversity.
But anyway, link in the show notes.
So she's just kind of like, it's the diaspora, y'all.
Yes. Okay. It really is. So I was thinking about that, and then I was also thinking about the Little Mermaid tale is written by Hans Christian Andersen. So when people were raising a stink about Ariel being Black, and Hans Christian Andersen didn't really there were no Black people in Denmark and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, well, first he went to Italy because he considered himself a citizen of the world. So, and it's because. And why did he write all those children's stories that feature children being abused? Because he himself was abused. So he was inspired to write The Little Mermaid from this Italian story called Undine. And, I'm sure in the Italian story, The Little Mermaid was probably a person of color because the whole Mami Wata lore.
Exactly.
Yeah. Plus, so they're like, well, Hans Christian Andersen, he was white, and so Little Mermaid was supposed to be white. No, I don't think he wrote with Little Mermaid being white in mind. I don't think he necessarily did that. Plus, all you Christian assholes that have a problem with Black Mermaid, guess what? Hans Christian Andersen was bisexual.
As a child, Andersen was taunted for his effeminate manner and his girlish voice. When he was still in his teens, he left to go to Copenhagen to try and make his fortune. Despite being remembered as the father of fairy tales and telling so many stories about prince and princesses, Andersen never got a happy ending of his own. In fact, he died a virgin. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but throughout his life, Andersen developed really unhealthy obsessions with people, unrequited love, people that could never love him back, and it caused him no end of agony. One of his lifelong infatuations was this guy here, a writer called Edvard Collins. He wrote to him again and again and again and was so excited to see him, but Edward couldn't return his love. He fancied the ladies, and he would write in his diaries that the fact he couldn't return this love caused Andersen huge distress. Another infatuation was an aristocrat called Henrik Stamp, and as well as writing him endless love letters, Andersen kept meticulous details in his diary which show the escalating levels of infatuation. There were many such infatuations throughout Andersen's lives, both men and women. There were opera singers, dancers, aristocrats, writers. It's like he would seek out people he knew were unavailable to him. They were married or just not interested, and obsess about them to the point of derangement and probably what we'd call today stalking. Andersen seemed to regard his attachment to these people as spiritual and noble because it wasn't physical. He never had any sex with them, and when it came to sex, he seemed to regard the act as repugnant. Nothing necessarily wrong with that either, but what he does do is he often went to brothels and would pay women for their time and just sit next to them and talk, and then go home and write in his diary about how virtuous and good he was. If you pause to read here, you can see one such diary entry from 1867. Andersen may have shoved physical love with other people, but he was certainly into self-love, and he recorded every experience with 2 crosses in his diary. He would also do it to the point where he actually hurt himself. Lots of diary entries read penis sore, penis tender. So
Okay. And the guy who directed this, that's why I mentioned it in the in our opening credits, he's also gay. So anyway.
What are you gonna do now?
Yeah, get your panties all up in a bunch over that. But Hans Christian Andersen was bisexual, so and I think people automatically assume, well, his name is Hans Christian Andersen, so he's Christian. He believes like we do, and we're white, and he was white, so whatever.
Oh my God! You know what though? They probably do. It's mind-boggling how deeply stupid these people are. Like, you have a problem with all of these things. You shouldn't want your kids to even watch The Little Mermaid. Disney basically just took stories that were already there, made them Disney, and then lawyered up because white people be playing the long game. And if Hans Christian Andersen were alive right now, he would be pissed and would be in the longest legal battle that anyone. It's like, this is my shit. But when they put Disney on it, then that's it. So Hans Christian Andersen may not have had, may not have been thinking of a white person. But once something is Disney, Walt Disney was racist, was a white supremacist, basically. He was like into all of that, just like that clean
eugenics shit and all of that.
Yeah. So of course, so he probably saw it that way. But the person that he stole the person that he stole the IP from wasn't. But that's the story of America. They don't look beyond like what's just been put in front of them. Whatever the white man, like the American, decided it would be, is the gospel, is the way that it is. And they never fathom that it came from something else, even though most of their shit comes from something else. But those same people would be like, we're a melting pot. Like, pick a lane. Pick a motherfucking lane.
And see, that's why I so enjoy like following people like Christian A. Smith on TikTok and Donnell Wright. I forwarded you that link where he was talking about, there's actually a group on Facebook, Christians Against Black Ariel.
So the name of this group is Christians Against the Little Mermaid, and there are almost 10,000 members in this group.
Later in the video, Becca goes on to highlight the group's one rule: no racism. But if you feel the need to act racist, keep it to a happy medium. And of course, the white Christians in that group took full advantage of their opportunity for happy medium racism. They shared everything from racist memes, racist jokes, white people in blackface, the list goes on and on. In the comments of that video, you'll see people saying, I have no words. How could they call themselves Christian? How could they be so hateful? This is your reminder that historically, white Christians have never had to separate their racism and bigotry from their religion.
Y'all didn't have anything else better to do than to trip over Ariel being black. Now I'm fine with her being black, of course. Mami Wata. I like how they combine the Mami Wata mythology with the siren mythology, because sirens are not mermaids. So I was like, okay, I picked up on that. But I'm like, really? What I took offense to, and I wondered like if anybody else had noticed, because this Hans Christian Andersen wrote this story in 1837. So it was published in 1837. And this was supposed to take place in the Caribbean during the 1700s. So I'm just like, the slave trade was alive and well. So was it different in the Caribbean where there was this black queen? I appreciated that she was black. And they make like, well, how she had this white son? Well, he was adopted, they covered that up. But I'm like, okay, there's a part in the movie where they have a little dance break by all these black people. You can tell that they're not on the same level as the royalty. So are we just not going to mention the slave trade at all? So I found this
not.
Yeah.
Mention on slave trade. No, you too woke.
I'm like, shit. I'm looking at OC and he's enjoying the film and everything. And I'm like, yes, I'm staying awake. And I'm just like, yeah, but historically, like, there was a lot going on. So you mean to tell me this white guy who has a black adopted mom in the Caribbean during the time of the slave trade is going to fall in love with this black mermaid, and then she grows legs and become a human, and then all of these multicultural people are just going to get along and well, even though the slave trade is alive and well all around them? I wasn't the only one that felt that way. There's a link to this other blog post who talks about that in the show notes. Thoughts?
Oh, I totally get it, but it's like, this is not by Henry Louis Gates. This is Disney. Now, were those thoughts like, the thoughts were going in my head like, what would have to be happening in order for this to even be a little bit true? And I chalked it up to, like, the more you delve into history and the ambiguity of when everybody mixes, like the main woman who seemed like she was the woman of the house, but you could tell, but she wasn't the queen, because she, like, the one that helped to, like, clean Ariel up and get her some shoes. And it was Black woman. She was lighter skinned and had like curly hair. And all I kept thinking was like, yeah, Creole, like Creole, because it not Creole with the light skin, just Creole with, I could see this being, Spanish or French or Portuguese, which, they seemed British or something, but it was just like all of this shit, like they're taking what they know to be true, like Disney does. Yeah. And they threw it in a blender. And with this one, they're going to do it more because, hey, listen, the mermaid is Black. So we're about to wild out with everything else. You got your Black mermaid. So, she's also got like an Asian sister and so I was like, okay, her dad got holes in different area codes or different shells, because it's like, your mama's Spanish, your mama's such and such. Like, that's what it looked like. And I didn't have a problem with that. It's Disney, but I could not help but notice the same things that you did as far as like, what are the racial politics right now? Like, this woman, she's in control of this house. She's not the queen, but she obviously is running things, just like the other man who was the East Indian, who was kind of like his body man that was totally in the bag for Ariel, like from the beginning, was just like, kiss the girl. Like, he was all mad, like, who's this white woman you trying to be with? Like, I was surprised. I thought that he would be like trying to encourage him to do the proper thing, but he was like, no, sometimes you have to, how did he put it? Sometimes you have to step outside of the rules. When he said that made me think that they were going to have a little mini arc with him and the woman, because it just sounded like, because he's obviously, it seemed, in a higher position than the woman of the house, the woman of the lower house, whatever. And the way he said that and the way they interacted with each other, they're both older. You have to assume they've been working together or in tandem for a long time. And I just knew that there was going to be some kind of little like secret romance, like we can't be out with it. But I thought that was a missed opportunity to show, like, why are you just for Ariel? Like, yeah, she's cute, but this man does not know her as Halle Bailey. Like, who wouldn't like her? This is a Black fish woman out of the sea. His position seemed like as, no, seriously, like, why is he just like, yeah, like,
as the person who's obviously the eyes and ears for his mom, he seemed like he would be the one that's like, this isn't proper. But he acted like his homie. And so I just knew like he got a thing going on with that woman. And it never happened. I thought that was so weird because there is a scene where he wasn't supposed to leave, but the guy finagles it to get him a carriage so that he could hang out.
Yeah.
And right as he's closing the gate, the woman's like, oh, so there are carriages available? And he was like, oh, it's just one. And she like looked at him and they kind of had that thing like, yeah, because like we used to pull the same shit too. And I just knew like, oh, they're getting it on. And it never happened. I'm like, so then why is he so partial to him, being with this woman of color? I just knew he had his own or something like that. So I just looked at it like this is that thing where everyone is there's such a mixture that it's literally a third category of people, which is what it was like in certain parts, namely Louisiana, where it's so much mixing. Not to say that there's not like a hierarchy, but for the most part, it's just kind of like we can kind of just pretend because everybody is something else. And until the Americans come along and start making people register in a book and then making lives harder for you the further down you are on the color spectrum, we kind of all don't care. And that's really what it felt like. So it felt like this could be true in history, because what have we learned? That the things that we think about how things were, we've been finding that it really depends on where you were. Yeah. And like I'm learning about urban enslavement right now, like being an enslaved person, like in the city of New Orleans, as opposed to on a plantation, and how they had like more freedom because you're not isolated from people. The master may need you to go to the store and do errands because you're in close proximity to things, and how they actually were able to sleep away from their master's house because their master would hire them out to other people, or they were able to hire themselves out sometimes, like if they had a skill. So their life was still terrible because they had to have a pass, but it was different. And that just reminded me of Kindred and how we talked about like, we really have this very linear view or this binary view of like, you either free or, or they were on your ass constantly. And then as we watch things, it's like, yeah, but maybe in this remote town, slavery looked like this. And so I was able to suspend my disbelief, number one, because I wasn't expecting anything from Disney. They're already patting themselves on the back for making the mermaid a Black woman. But then when I really started to think about it, it's like, I could see this being true. Maybe not this widespread on this island, but I bet you there were pockets where it was like, like this is how we get down. Because he is a royal and he's like in the town. Like, and you can see like the people are reacting to him like, oh, that's so-and-so. But he's comfortable. But it's like, well, look who his mom is. And this seems like, since they're not in the middle of the UK or in the middle of wherever, it's more relaxed, and everybody looked like, not everybody, but most people, it's like everybody was ambiguous looking. Like these people they just mixing. And it just reminded me of Louisiana, like in certain parts. And, I said, so that's how they're getting away with it. Because Disney has spent a lot of time in New Orleans, like in the recent weeks, because of the Tiana thing. And because they were supposed to come to our museum and they canceled, but they were coming down to do research about free people of color. And so, and PJ Morton is doing the music, like they're changing Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain is about to be Tiana's Bayou Ride or something. Like they're changing the whole thing. Wow. PJ Morton, local musician who played with Maroon 5 and is also Paul Morton's son, Greater St. Stephen's pastor. Like he's a New Orleans boy. He's doing the music. They went to all these museums. They were supposed to come to ours, but they didn't. So I don't know. They're supposed to be coming back, but people come to the museum a lot. Quentin Tarantino came when he was doing Django. Because there was a poem. There's a poem that's on the wall that inspired that story. Now, I wasn't working there yet, but he came through.
Django. Yeah, you told me about it. I was just like, was he high when he was there? Because he probably was. He takes a lot of ecstasy, like a lot.
Yeah, but Andrea, I think she told you the story. That's like one of her post-tour things. She has people come and read the poem, and she talks about like, this man, the owner like let him in, but she was like looking like, like, what is he okay? But she didn't know that it was Quentin Tarantino because he did not look like
crazy. He's not a good looking person. I'm sorry, Quentin, but like, how
he looks like a toe.
A toe? Like, so something akin to what's her name on Sex and the City? Because like Peter on Family Guy said she looked like a foot. What's her name on Sex and the City? The main one, Sarah
Jessica Parker.
Sarah Jessica Parker. She said she looks like a foot. She does. Yeah,
she does.
Yeah.
Well, he looks like a big toe. Look at your big toe and like you take like a Sharpie and like draw a nose and put some glasses like right on the edge. That's how he looks.
Yes.
Like side without the nail. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
he just looks like a toe. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Like this. Oh shit. Yeah, you're right.
He looks like a toe. He looks like a toe.
Does he know?
Maybe it doesn't help because he's always like it's like it's like his face. A very talented artist, like those kinds of artists that can make something out of just one line. Mm-hmm. I could see somebody if you take somebody that has that talent, take a Sharpie on the underside of a big toe, they could do his face because his face is just one continuous line. His face is like one of those things that you look at and you could be looking at one of two things. It's like an optical illusion. It's like, I thought that was a woman choking a dog. It's like, no, it's a flower. Oh.
Black excellence. When you're compelled to prove yourself over and over again. Yeah, that's me. Black excellence. Sure, you pulled a solid 3.9 this semester, but next semester, you're looking for 4.0. I try. Black excellence. You started high school at 12. Yeah. Finished college at 19. And at 21, you're on your way to a master's degree. Look at you, girl. Go on, girl. You're poised and ready to join other strong Black women in taking over the world and training less qualified white people to be your boss. Wait, what? Black excellence is handcrafted in our vineyards in New Orleans. What are vineyards doing in New Orleans? Overachieving. And that's why Black excellence wine is made especially for us. Because we stay showing out here. We got to, or else. I have a nice tall glass of Black excellence. You about to need it. I thought Black excellence was... Black excellence is wine.
Black excellence. Girl, it's just wine.
But it was beautiful. Like, she really did great. And I watched interviews with her. I watched her talk about, she was like, locks are very heavy. And so she was like, that's the scene. That's the iconic scene from the first one where she flips the hair back. She was like, we had to do that so many times. I was so mad. She's like, my neck was killing me. It was like, because she had to keep doing it. And they were wet.
People complain, like people with natural hair complain about wash day with just natural hair. No, there's poundage because these things are sponges and they soak up all of the hair. And then I literally have to wring it out, and then it takes forever to dry. Heavy.
It's the same when you have like extra long. It's very similar to when you get braids that are extra long.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to have box braids for a while, you're supposed to wash. And it's like, I need to lie down.
My neck
and she had to keep cocking. She had to keep doing. It was a beautiful shot. But she was like, I was mad.
I made a note in the theater because I think there was one part where he's coming in for a kiss. They don't quite kiss, or maybe they did kiss, and he touched her hair. And I'm like, she let him touch her hair.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. The other thing is like the bird rap was cute. I appreciated the bird rap. I'm not a fan of Aquafina, but I thought it was cute. And then Black girls swimming. Like I hope that so many Black girls are like, yeah, I want to swim. Because the mortality rate for Black people, Black people drowning, atrocious. It's an epidemic. You won't hear about it on the news. You might hear a news story here or there about somebody drowning, but it is really a bad problem. So I'm hoping that more little Black girls, Black families in general, this movie encourages them to go get in the water and learn how to swim, because it's really important, y'all.
It really, really is. I will be going back to see it, which is Cheryl and I's usual practice. When we see a movie with them, we're like, we'll be coming back to catch all of this that we missed while we were passing down candy or telling somebody to shut up.
Y'all don't know, like going to the movies with kids, because snacks and treats and bathroom and all of that, it's not for the faint of heart.
I enjoyed seeing them enjoying themselves and also having all the stuff. Like, that seems shallow, but it's like a personal thing for the both of us, for me and my sister, because we never had the thing, because it was like, be glad that you're able to like come and see this, whatever. It's 50 million of y'all. So it was always like very bare bones, because like that's just what it was. And so I know sometimes we kind of overdo things. It's like, nope, I want you to have all of the things. And they were happy sitting there with their little smuggled in, stuff, snacks and the doll and the purse. And when she did the they're like,
I'm happy for this generation of kids. First of all, I'm happy that my son is like, yeah, let's go see this movie. He didn't think, oh no, this is for girls and it's not for me. He's like, yeah, let's go see this movie. It's the main character is a girl. I don't care. She hot. I want to see it.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
That makes me so happy. But then, of course, the cynic in me comes out, and I'm just like, Disney is making money hand over fist. Like, all they had to do was add this blackness to the mix, and we're going and throwing money at it, because we're just still so hungry to see ourselves represented. And you were right. A year ago when they put out that trailer, and you're seeing TikToks and reels of girls, she's black, and it brought tears to my eyes, because I'm like, this means so much to our kids, but
then it makes you mad.
Yeah, they're so young. Like, they are so aware at a young age that things are different from them. And
okay.
Yeah. And like, she's black. Like, she looks like me, mommy. Like,
Zoe did the same thing. She was like, wait, what? She's a brown girl? And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
That was last year. Like, she was 5.
Yeah. I want that. I want them to be enjoying this, but also I don't want it to be like something new or special for them. Like, I want them to tune in the TV and be like, yeah, black folks on TV.
Yeah, like that's a girl on TV.
Yeah.
Like, to where they don't even have to say like, oh, it's a black girl. I think it will be like that I am glad that they're at least getting this. As they get older, it'll become more of the norm, or they will expect it. And then should they decide to like also have children, it'll be much more normal and or expected for them, especially with this generation of kids that are like, what you're not going to do is like, they're just way more like forceful and boisterous. And I don't believe that that's going to go away when they hit middle age or when they start to acquire some wealth, because they're not the first generation to like demand things. It's just that when you start to have stuff to lose, or you quote grow up, that goes away. But these kids, they've been through so much because of the economy, and just that so much happened to them. I feel like this might be the first generation to stay how they are. Like, it may waver just a little bit, but they're going to have kids, if they have kids, that think the same way. Like, I think we may see the first time that it doesn't hit that, like, yeah, everybody's a Democrat when they're young, and then they get more conservative. Like, I heard somebody say that a long time ago. I was like, that is kind of true. And it's really just because it's easy to feel a certain way when you don't have anything, and then you start to get things, but like, that's not even a traditional track that's available anymore. So I think that that's going to contribute to them. They may refine their approach, but I feel like that fire is going to be there because they don't have anything. Like, there's no safety net. Like, there's no expectation of, I put in 25 good years at this job. Like, they don't have anything to sort of rest on. We really didn't either, but the illusion was there.
Yeah.
The last people that really had that were the boomers, which is like why everybody hates boomers, because it's like, y'all are still here. So many of you, you won't move, and you won't like
Like they're sucking everything up. Like that's the whole thing. And I don't think that the generations after that, like we were too busy doing what boomers weren't doing. So we're just like, whatever, we've been surviving, which is translates to like, we don't care. But then the millennials on, you see articles and things all the time written about how they don't have a lot of this, the safety nets, not the wealthy ones, but they can't just expect that like Social Security will be there, or like they've seen 9/11, you know, they've been through COVID, they've had like all these things happen that I think that the fire is going to last in people much longer than it did in the predecessors, when it's like, listen, I got a 401k now. I can't be protesting. I can't protest that company. That's who my such and such is with. So, you know, I'll just donate to your cause.
Bro, I hope the fire lasts, because God, I feel like I'm bringing up Florida every fucking week, but you know,
it's a problem.
Yeah, I just saw this talk about like just how many laws. Now we joked before, it's like, oh, trans kids are being abused by their parents, don't let them use the bathroom. But there are a whole litany of laws that are specifically anti-trans.
Implemented the infamous Don't Say Gay law, HB 1521, which restricts public access to transgender people, SB 254, which bans gender-affirming care for the youth, HB 1069, that bans the correct pronoun usage for trans students, HB 1438, which bans drag shows, and the HB 225, an anti-trans sports bill. And if you wanted to peacefully protest any of these undoubtedly fascist policies, well, he's banned that too. And before long, they're going to be trying to arrest people like me for sedition.
It's like targeted hate. It's really scary.
It is scary. So I'm hoping that these kids will, you know, maintain that fire and be willing to stand up and fight, because like it's getting insane. And see, I know you don't want to watch, actually, before I go off on this tangent, actually no, let's just do it. I know you don't want to watch the Duggar family thing, but watching that thing, it just made so much sense about how the Christian right has taken over, and how people like DeSantis are now a thing and are running with these laws, like why the child labor laws are being rolled back, because Christian fundamentalists believe in putting their kids to work, you know. And have you heard of blanketing and rodding?
What?
So they beat their kids with rods, because, you know, the whole thing, spare the rod of the child. But they start them off. So can you imagine a baby who's able to sit up? They put them on a blanket, and they will purposefully put something outside of the blanket. And when the baby reaches for it, they hit them.
It's like a Pavlov thing.
Yes. And so flash forward to the Duggar family and their whole tribe of children. The other people who view them like, well, why are their kids so behaved? They just call it blanketing, but it's abuse. And of course they sugarcoat it and whitewash it and, you know, make it fit for human consumption. But there's all kinds of abuse going on besides the sexual abuse and exploitation and all of that. And so flash forward to now, I'm like, no wonder, because this was on TV for God knows how many years, with how many like offshoots from it. And it's influencing a whole generation. Yeah, this is the way. You have this big ass happy family with the women doing all the work, the girls being raised to do all the work. The kids are well mannered, because they're trapped in a cage, in this mental cage. So sad. So sad. Anyway, how do we rate this show?
5 stars over the Cuckoo's Nest. I'm ready to kiss the girl. I loved it. How do you rate The Little Mermaid?
I gave it 4 stars because of my cynicism. I just couldn't get over. Probably if I had a daughter, I would be like, yeah, it's 5 stars, you know. And I hate to even say like, oh, I'm treating my son differently than my daughter, but also, I mean, he doesn't want to be a mermaid, and he doesn't really identify. He just thought she was a hot ass mermaid. She was hot. So
beautiful.
She's beautiful. She's a beautiful girl. I was just like, okay, this takes place during slavery, so the fuck. I just could not get that out of my head.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
that's hilarious.
but But yeah, I'm glad that it's made. I'm excited about Tiana thing. I know Black people were mad because it's like, oh yeah, you're gonna have the one Black Disney princess and she's a frog for most of the film. The people felt a sort of way about that. So but I'm hoping that if they're going and doing their due diligence and they're filming, on location in New Orleans, then they'll do right by that story and make up for whatever. Go Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They messed up with that. They owe us another Disney princess, because I don't consider, I mean, The Little Mermaid is what she is. It's great. But Princess Tiana was original. They owe us another thing that is not from something else. Like, oh, we just took Cinderella and we made a Black. So, like that'll be I want like another one. But yeah, so they have plans for things. It's impactful and it matters, because when we were in Disney and that the parade came around, the float came with Tiana and her prince. First of all, our kids, some kind of way, we were just like in the front, like we weren't there early. It was just this little spot and we were just there. They were waving at everybody. And when they saw our kids, both of them, the guy looked like he was Latina. He looked exactly like the cartoon, and so did she. And they were waving, and then they saw our kids and went. I was like, it affected me. I am a grown woman. When we walked in to take pictures with her, I knew that she was going to be in costume. They're basically doing what I do every week, but I gasped audibly. And then I was like, was that me? And Cheryl was like, because I walked in and it's so pretty. They had Rapunzel on one side, like you talked to both of them. But I saw her, I went, and I'm like, seriously? I was like, I'm telling you, that place, I don't know if they're pumping something, but the entire time I was like, I should be angry right now. It's hot. All of these lines are long, but somehow the irritation you feel is from your children. like it's just them. But you're generally just like happy. And I really think that it's the service. I don't know if they're beating those people or scaring them or drugging them up, but those people are just like, it's mostly white people, and there's no attitude. There's nothing.
I'm hoping that I'll have a similar experience when we take the kids to Disneyland, because I know my childhood at Disneyland and Disney World. This is why I hate Disney to this day. Pretty much. I'm going against my will every time I go see a Marvel movie, or every time I like turn on the Disney subscription again so my kids can catch a movie. I'm just like, I hate this. I hate this.
They've just got so much content and there's a lot of good stuff on there.
Yeah.
Disney Plus is a really good app.
I know, I can't get away from it. So
it's just stuffed, like, damn, y'all, like,
yeah, I can't get away from it. And then like, you see the little little cartoons that they have, like the woman with the bun. She made it was an Asian woman.
Yes.
The dumpling. When the dumpling grows up, like that talking about my fucking heartstrings. I was so mad at myself. Anyway, I'm hoping that Disney, you need to do your work. You need to bring me in, because right now you don't have me. Okay. Yeah. So
Did you watch Soul? That's another one.
Soul was good. And I hated myself for the way that I felt about that movie. And then that reminds me, what's going on with Jamie Foxx? Because is he all right?
Here's your assignment. Google Jamie Foxx, Diddy. Recent videos are going to come up of Jamie Foxx kind of like making the rounds on the talk show circuit. I'm not sure how long ago it was, but it wasn't that long ago. And him just talking about like, man, like Diddy used to throw these parties. The consensus is he's the only person that's relevant today that like knows where all the bodies. He's been in the entertainment industry for a long time. So he knows a lot. He's like been to like a lot of his parties, and he tells a story about just like how much money he would spend on parties. And he wasn't even down talking, but he was just talking. And so he was recently shooting this movie that was going to bring Cameron Diaz back. And I had heard Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx are doing a Netflix movie, because Jamie Foxx has been doing a lot of Netflix movies. And it was a vehicle to help her return. And the set had been troubled from the beginning. And I can't seem to find his story anymore. But there was a story that was up about, he had just like, they were saying that he was acting erratic and strange. And when I first heard that, I was like, no, he's not. There's probably a reason, because right now all this stuff is coming out that's making it seem like Jamie Foxx is losing his mind. And I got worried. Like, I hope that something does not happen to him, because all the little seeds are being planted. And they said he fired a bunch of people, that somebody on set like tried to sell him a watch and it turned out to be fake. And that before this happened to him, Jamie Foxx had called the police and was afraid. And then like these stories are coming out, like Cameron Diaz is annoyed with Jamie Foxx because of like how things are going on the set. And like I'm just like, it just feels like Jamie Foxx is being set up to where if anything happens, people can be like, well, he was going crazy. And then all of a sudden he's in the hospital, but come to find out he had kind of been there. And his daughter's not really sick. Like, she's answering, but I think he is more hurt than they're letting on. I don't believe that he died, but it looks to me like an attempt was made, because what's his name got really, really sick and he's just coming back. Christopher Williams. Have you seen him lately?
The Don't Wake Me, I'm Dreaming.
Don't wake me. Yeah, he almost died. Well, he's one of the people who's associated with Diddy, and all the people that have died were either former Uptown Records execs or they're connected. Because I believe Christopher Williams was involved with Kim Porter too, either before or after Diddy. And the word is that he, like, the spell that he had in the hospital, I think it was his kidneys, is very serious. He's very skinny. He looks old. He's on the mend, and it's being characterized as an unsuccessful attempt by Diddy. I'll be sure. Like, there's a couple people, and I didn't realize that that Heavy D, or I didn't know, was involved with Uptown Records. I knew he was a performer, but I didn't know that he was an exec. Jaguar Wright, according to her, Heavy D died suddenly, because it didn't make any sense. It's like, how you die after you lost all your weight?
Yes. So, okay. Well, that makes me afraid.
And Andre Harrell.
That makes me afraid for Usher. Like, I'm not like, I'm not an Usher stan, but Usher's
not walking around really like he did the Howard Stern thing, but he's not making the rounds. So, and also, and I hate to say this, but he did his own dirt himself as a result of what happened to him. So what you need to worry about is if Justin Bieber decides to start popping off.
Anyway, is that our show?
It explains so much.
Is that our show?
That's this show, yeah.
Thank you for listening to Tangentially Speaking. This podcast is recorded and produced by Nita Sharice and Nikki Ebo. Our theme music is Lush Living by Martin Landstrom. Our artwork was created by Prime Vice Studios. You can learn more about this intellectual property development agency at primevice.com. Find us on your favorite podcast player and YouTube. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And be sure to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter.